represent everyone's you and I verse. We're gonna go ahead and get into it with some music first. Try to ease my corrupted mind with the marijuana. Sing pro-life as God sent. What my eyes can find closed, done open up doors. My mustard seed, it grows on. Through the heart, I'm reborn. When you die, we look how you synthesize. Define how I stay alive. Survival tactics, governmental gangs, I face factions. Mob hop, lethal weapon, never half stepping. Million man march, I'm a million and one. The rhyme be the scenery shit. I'm high as a kid. Got to supply the broadness. The rhyme be the scenery shit. I'm high as a kid. Got to supply the broadness. Hey yo! Conscious, flip a continental plate, tectonic shit. Not unlike my phonics, MC, atomic. Never kick my feet up unless I'm kicking a verse. How they got pissed, conscious. Never switch a set, I see the disconnect. Organization, truthfully put us all in categories. So you asking what I am or what I'm not? This the real hip hop, I puff pop, never touch clocks. Cause I create, could have me in the casket, hopefully. And a voice forever globally. Shit, universe is just a city to me. Universe is just a city to me. The rhyme be the scenery. Shit, I'm high as a kid, got me just around the broadness. Shout out Dirty Sanchez, salute, yeah. Shout out to NYC, shout out Beast Coast. Go on now, get them. Get them one time, Dirty. Yeah. That way, I'm a one-way street, no way to get around it. I ball till I clock out. And invoice included. Super exclusive. Type excluded. Executed. Off with the heads of state, overthrow the government, be the new mandate. They wanna see us in chains, and private prison is the new slave trade. I said it's free my sons until they free my sons, and it's free my mind. The water ain't clean and Biggie told me it was all a dream. Alright, here we go. Last verse, yeah. Metaphor 77 back on the beat, yeah. Can't go off the mic in your cranium and science to the titanium and steel, sharpened steel. You know my CISO, I sent the races to the killer fields. But Johnny trained them, Johnny dangerous, the conscious. Can't contain them, haters by cannot phase. Blow 1 point as a laser beam through your steel. In a flash, fuck the mask off, fit to save all. I can't believe today was a good day. Disbelievers telling me I'm not gifted. In a few years, gon' be stealing my style, shoplifting, incandescent. True MC, I really rap this. And all more till I see through perception. AK, my breath and words, I create this intervention. Patented in denial. It's defiance to the first step. Woo! You in the first step. Hold up, check. Can you grasp that? Can we grasp that? Can they grasp that? And that's shout out Profile on the beat. Shout out Wizard Lee on the engineering. Shout out Dirty Sanchez on the feature. And that's MET 4-77. And If I Die Tonight. You know what I'm saying? So with this being said, we got the moon sextile on Lilith and also sextile on Pluto, right? So the moon is Sagittarius. Sextile on Lilith is being able to see the opportunities of your darkest relations or relating with the dark, essentially. Lilith was like the first moon before we actually attain the moon. So it's like that first emotion that you really felt comfortable with and things like that before you came in this space. So keep that in mind. It's like we're being comfortable, moon is Sagittarius, expanding. And with Lilith, we're seeing the opportunity to relate Libra with our darkest moment. And then with the also sextile and Pluto, the moon sextile and Pluto is like seeing the opportunity to feel comfortable expanding in our transformation, rebirth, or even like death, so to speak, because Pluto is death, you know what I'm saying, or transformation or rebirth. So with this being said, you're able to see the opportunity of what to put death to actually bring the correct association to the forefront. And then moving forward, we also have the moon square in Mercury, my moon square in Venus. We got a whole lot of square energies to the moon right now. So like I say, moon square in Mercury in Virgo. And we also have the moon square in Venus in Virgo. We also have the moon square in Saturn and Pluto. Pardon me, Saturn and Pisces. Excuse me, I got Pluto and Pisces mixed up. Some P words, you know what I'm saying? But moving forward, like I said, we also have the moon square in Neptune, right? So the square energy is all about a learning process. And like I mentioned before, the sextile energy is about seeing the opportunity. So the sextile is a 60-degree angle, and the square energy is a 90-degree angle. So with this being said, the learning process between the moon and Mercury at this point in time is, do you actually want to see the details or learn about the details to expand upon your emotion? And essentially, Mercury, being in Virgo, is the details or communicating those details and thinking about the details. And Moon in Sagittarius is either you feel comfortable escaping or expanding. So, yeah, moving forward, we have the Moon square in Venus as well, right? So Venus in Virgo is in a uncomfortable space, essentially. So keep in mind, like I mentioned before in previous videos, the Venus being in Aries, Virgo, or Scorpio is essentially spaces that we need to create love to actually attain it or attain value. So Venus is either value or love, and value of a person, place, thing, or idea, which you could in turn love. But essentially, Venus being in Virgo is being valuing the details or valuing the critique or valuing others' critique of oneself at this point in time. So with this being said, this moon in Sagittarius, you either feel comfortable expanding upon your values that you see the details of or learning about the details of, or you want to escape. So essentially, on the lower octave, you'd be like feeling comfortable escaping from what you value at this point in time, and you don't really want to learn. So like essentially at this point in time, you want to be learning about how you could actually better be in the like a bettering space. Pardon that, that's like not correct grammar. So like be in a more beneficial space whenever you're in the space of wanting to expand upon your details and valuing those details. And then moving forward, we also have the moon square in Saturn, right? So the moon square in Saturn is essentially feeling comfortable learning about our restriction of our dreams, illusions, and nightmares being Pisces, right? And Saturn being restriction. So essentially, we either feel comfortable expanding, moon in Sagittarius, or escaping, and we learn from that escape energy, or we learn from the aspect of us expanding. So essentially, you may expand too much at this point in time. You have to essentially come to this learning process that, okay, maybe I've expanded too much to the point where I can't actually restrict what I've got going on to a point where it's not beneficial. Then moving forward, we also have the moon squaring Neptune, and Neptune being dreams, illusions, nightmares, and also that exploratory space. So like that space that you're in your dream realm to a point where you may actually learn from your dreams at this point in time, since we have the moon squaring Saturn and Neptune, right? So Neptune, like I say, being in Pisces is at home. So essentially the moon being in Sagittarius, we either feel comfortable expanding upon these dreams, illusions, and nightmares, or we're in a space that we actually are kind of escaping from things. We want to be in that dream realm to a point where we don't actually correlate with reality, so to speak. But yeah, moving forward, we also have the moon trining the sun and also trining the north node and Chiron. So the sun is in Leo, fire sign. North node is in Aries, fire sign, and also Chiron is in Aries, fire sign as well. So moon in Sagittarius creates this grand fire trine, right? So we have a grand fire trine going on with the sun, the north node, and the moon, right? Because whenever you have all three elements, all modalities of a certain element, that creates that grand trine. So we actually go get into Taurus later on in the video, Benjamin Smith, shout out to you. You know what I'm saying? Because we have the moon in conjuncting Uranus in Taurus, right? And Uranus being at the forefront for the Taurus energy at this point in time, we're in a space where we either misunderstand our expansion to a point where, you know what I'm saying, us being in this rebellious nature, we either want to expand that or we feel comfortable escaping that at this point in time. So it's like you want to be in an aspect of either you feel comfortable in this expansion or you feel comfortable escaping. And you may misunderstand that because Uranus and Taurus, I'm saying Taurus is like that grounding energy. And essentially, at this point in time, either you feel you're in a space where you're actually grounding your individuality, or you're kind of in a space where you want to conform, I'm saying, because Taurus is that energy where things want to make sense and be logistical. But yeah, getting back to the grand fire trine between the moon, sun, and the north node, and also Chiron, because Chiron's in the same space as the north node, both in Aries, right? So the moon trining the sun is we're having the gift to either expand upon our actions or escape from our actions, essentially. Like, we don't really want to be in a space where we feel comfortable, in a space where we're taking action. So it's either you feel comfortable or uncomfortable taking action at this point in time, and you're going to have the gift to actually expand that uncomfortability or comfortability. So essentially, Moon to Sagittarius is like escaping or expanding, so to speak. So with that being said, we also have the gift to expand upon our purpose, being the North Node in Chiron. You know what I'm saying? Then both being in Aries is being that individuality. So essentially, we have the gift to expand our purpose at this point in time or escape our purpose. So like, do you feel comfortable being in your own individuality, in your own personal path? You know what I'm saying? Or do you feel comfortable kind of conforming at this point in time? And essentially, Chiron is like the wounded heroes, but ends up being wise. So essentially, with this being said, the moon trining Chiron is having the gift to feel comfortable in our expansion upon our wounds. You know what I'm saying? So we may be experiencing more wounds at this point in time, but we may become more wise about those wounds based on our individuality. And being an individual, you tend to see like, okay, based on how I interact individually, how do I actually I utilize this energy to be beneficial. I just broke down some Leo stuff. Brittany Ann, shout out to you. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, we got the sun in Leo and trying the moon. You know what I'm saying? So moon trying the sun is a gift to feel comfortable with our actions. But yeah, Leo also has the 5th house being in Sagittarius. So we're going to get into that a little bit later. But yeah, like shout out to everybody in the chat. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Benjamin Smith, like I say. Shout out to Soda Drinker Pro. Yeah, that's an interesting name. And shout out to Brittany Ann. But yeah, shout out to everybody that's participating, and shout out to everybody that likes to stay in tune with the movement they need to be in tune with, you know what I'm saying, to expand their own circumstance situation and become more wise. And I'm grateful for everybody that understands situations, because it helps me help. So essentially, breaking down these energies, it allows me to be more aware of them, and then also allows y'all to be more aware of them. So we're going to go ahead and break down the rising signs. We're going to start with Sagittarius, based on the moon being in Sagittarius. So for Sagittarius, 1st house, rising and ascendant, you're either expanding or escaping your personal affairs. So at this point in time, you're in a space where you either feel comfortable like, okay, I either feel comfortable going on an adventure at this point in time, or I just want to stay in my own certain space and things like that nature. And how I like to break down the 1st house as well, whenever the moon is in your 1st house, it's either you feel comfortable with your personal affairs, your individuality, or you feel uncomfortable with your individuality. And essentially, you just got to accept yourself to be in a more higher octave space and accept in the comfortability, so to speak. But yeah, moving forward, we have Scorpio rising, 1st house and ascendant, and we're going to have Sagittarius in the 2nd house. And the 2nd house is all about your values of a person, place, thing, or idea. So you're going to have expansion upon your value system of your personal individuals in your life, you know what I'm saying, or the places that you go to, or the things or ideas, you know what I'm saying. So at this point in time, you may have new ideas that you want to travel to, you know what I'm saying, in the mind or externally. And keep in mind, Sagittarius is like that travel externally or in the mind. So at this point in time, you may value new ideas at this point in time, because this is still the new moon cycle. Because whenever we hit the the full moon in Aquarius, that's going to be the full filling up the cup. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to tip the cup. So essentially, at this point in time, you want to make sure you travel everywhere you need to travel to, externally and mentally, to achieve that higher octave and satisfaction. Moving forward, the Libra rising is having the 3rd house being in Sagittarius, and the 3rd house for Libra to the 1st house, you know what I'm saying, is a sextile. So 3rd house in Sagittarius is seeing the opportunity to expand in communication or expand in your environment. So essentially, you may be meeting new neighbors at this point in time, and you may be having the opportunity to see, okay, are these people beneficial or non-beneficial? Do I feel comfortable expanding with these individuals, or do I want to escape my environment at this point in time? But moving forward, we have the Virgo rising, first house and ascendant, having the fourth house being a Sagittarius. So essentially, you either feel comfortable in your private matters, or you feel uncomfortable in your private matters at this point in time, or your home, or your heart, so to speak, because the fourth house represents the heart. So keep in mind, it's also a square energy. So the square is learning to expand privacy, aka being more open. So at this point in time, the Virgo is either feeling comfortable being more open with the individuals in their private spaces, or they're feeling uncomfortable being more open at this point in time, and they want to be a little bit more recluse and be in that hermit energy. And keep in mind, whenever we have a mutable moon, the mutable energies are going to be the ones that are going to get hit the most. You know what I'm saying? All right, so the moon sign is different than the sun sign, Benjamin Scott. Benjamin Scott said, are moon signs interpreted the same way each year, or does it differ? So essentially, like, it is the same energy, but keep in mind that, like, the moon sign is always going to be your reactions, responses, and emotions. And that's always going to be the same every year. But keep in mind, every year has different energy to it. So, like, you're going to be having different planets in different spaces that are going to interact differently with your moon sign. So like your moon sign will stay the same and it'll still have the same energy, but how it interacts with the outside world is how it's going to, you know what I'm saying, depend on how, you know what I'm saying, you could interpret it. Excuse me. Moving forward, the Leo rising is having the fifth house being a Sagittarius, and the fifth house is all about your expression or your happiness energy. So like keep in mind that the Leo is going to have the gift to express their far out nature. So either you feel comfortable in your expression at this point in time, or you feel uncomfortable expressing oneself at this point in time, being that Leo rising. So essentially, the first house is alike to the fifth house, in that you essentially have to feel comfortable with your individual expression. And how I like to break this down is if you don't speak for yourself, nobody will speak for you. So you have to express yourself to actually put yourself in that higher octave energy. And like I say, it's the gift. So you have a gift to have like an easy flow of energy between your personality and the emotions of others at this point in time, based on the entire existence being in this moon in Sagittarius. And keep in mind, we just hit this, you know what I'm saying, right after the half moon. So the moon in Scorpio was like the half moon, and now we're just getting close to the full moon, like I mentioned earlier. So essentially, you better express yourself before you don't have the chance to. You know what I'm saying? Later on, whenever we have the moon in Aquarius, you're going to have that complete opposition. You're going to be in a space that either you're going to be completely opposite to this energy at this point, that at that point in time, excuse me, you're going to be completely opposite to that energy, being an Aquarius Leo. Like Leo rising is going to be completely opposite to the Aquarius energy. So keep in mind, you know what I'm saying, you want to utilize this gift while you got it. Yeah, pardon me. I was kind of mixing that up for a second, but y'all got it. You know what I'm saying? Moving forward, the Cancer rising is having the sixth house, being a Sagittarius. And the sixth house is all about your work, routine, and pattern, and also your health. So at this point in time, you may misunderstand being far out in your work and routine, because the Cancer likes to feel comfortable in their work and routine and not be so adaptive. They like to kind of be that individual that initiates and creates. So at this point in time, them being in the individuality of wanting to initiate and create, it may be this misunderstanding between their emotional state. So at this point in time, like I say, you may have this far out work and routine that's like different from others, and you might feel uncomfortable with at this point in time. But you have to realize this, like you have to kind of adapt to the circumstance, situations, to have a beneficial routine for oneself. Moving forward, the Gemini rising is having the seventh house being the Sagittarius, and the seventh house is all about your relationships. So keep in mind, you can either add on or oppose to your relationships at this point in time, and you're going to have these far out relations. So essentially, you're going to feel comfortable being far out with an individual at this point in time, or you're going to be feeling comfortable being opposing to a point where it's like, you know what I'm saying, it doesn't make actual logical sense based on the conversation that we're having, but I can either add on to this far out nature and illogicality and bring some logic to the conversation, or I just want to completely be in an adding on space. Like, you know what, this is far out and this is like Jupiterian nature, but I actually do feel comfortable with it at this point in time. And that's kind of the in between. Like, Gemini has to determine Do you feel comfortable adding on to the conversation or the relationship, or do you feel comfortable in a space where it's like, I should just be opposite because nobody's going to actually appreciate what I have to say? But then again, you never know if somebody's going to actually appreciate what you have to say until you open your mouth. You know what I'm saying? So like, it's that in between energy. Then moving forward, the Taurus rising is having the eighth house being a Sagittarius, and the eighth house is all about transformation, behind the scenes, secrets. I'm saying sex, and at this point in time, you might be a little bit more horny than usual. You know what I'm saying, being the Taurus rising. So like, you may be in that space where it has to make logical sense to you for you to actually be in these eighth house natures. But essentially, everybody's going to be in this far out nature, being the Sagittarius. So you may misunderstand adapting to this rebirth or this, this sexual energy, so to speak. So like, being that Taurus, you want to feel comfortable adapting to the transformation at hand, to put yourself in the higher octave. And like I say, you may be on the lower octave to a point where it's like, dag, I don't actually feel comfortable based on this not making logical sense at this point in time. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes that's actually beneficial. Sometimes you actually want to get a couple things across and make sure you make logical sense. You know what I'm saying? Go on a couple of outings, or like actually get into somebody's mind before you go ahead and move to the next step, move to the next base, so to speak, get to third base. You know what I'm saying? You got to reach first base before you move second base type thing. You know what I'm saying? Y'all get what I'm saying? But yeah, moving forward, the Aries rising is having the ninth house being the Sagittarius, and the ninth house is all about knowledge, wisdom, and experience, and also travel. So like I say, it's travel in the mind or externally. So at this point in time, the Aries is going to have the gift to experience their far out morality or their far out nature. And for the Aries, you could either be in a space where, I just want to do things individually, and I don't actually want to adapt to others at this point in time. I just want to go ahead and travel for myself. At this point in time, you're going to have the gift to do that, but you also going to have the gift to, being in a space where you could take others to this far out place that you like to be in, you like to feel comfortable in. So it's that space where it's like, I have the gift to do whatever I kind of want to do based on you being that fire sign. Then moving forward, the Pisces rising is having the 10th house being in Sagittarius. And like I say, all the mutable energies are going to be the most affected. So keep in mind, Pisces is a square to Sagittarius. So that 10th house is all about your status, career, and your blueprint, or what you're known for. You know what I'm saying? So at this point in time, this Pisces is going to learn to adapt to their far out status or their far out career. Like I'm saying, Pisces, you got to accept that you are a far out individual, and you take people to that far out space, or to a space where it's like, you're kind of in this illusionary energy. Like, people kind of think that you're in a delusion, but actually, you kind of in your own space, and you're already in a space where you already have that premonition, so to speak, or that intuition. So at this point in time, you kind of want to learn to adapt to that far out status, or learn to adapt to your way of being far out, and actually, bring that to the forefront and kind of be more expressive. Like, for a perfect example is like, Pisces kind of does the magic behind the scenes, being that yin sign Jupiter, and Sagittarius does it on the external, being that yang sign of Jupiter. So like, you kind of want to just learn from your fellow Jupiterian sign and be like, you know what? I got my own way of doing magic, and I might as well go ahead and bring that to the forefront and just feel comfortable being that. Being a magic individual and accepting that at this point in time. Aquarius is having the 11th house being a Sagittarius, and the 11th house is all about your public persona, or your association, or your groups. So at this point in time, the Aquarius is seeing the opportunity to adapt to their associations that they feel comfortable with. And essentially, the Aquarius kind of has that choice. Like, do I want to be a part of this group, or do I want to be a part of this group to actually benefit oneself? And you're seeing that opportunity between the two. Like, this group has more beneficial things, based on these aspects, but those same aspects, this other group doesn't have that. But you know what, this other group, on the other hand, on the whole other aspect, they could bring me to a whole different space that I've never experienced before. And that's the kind of group that you want to be a part of, being that Aquarius. You want to be in that unique part, or be a unique piece in the group, or be a unique gear in the group that could actually bring you to a beneficial space. And last but not least, the Capricorn rising is having the 12th house being in Sagittarius, and the 12th house is all about your dreams, illusions, and nightmares. So essentially, you either are expanding or escaping a far out dream. So it's like the Capricorn is like reaching so far to a point, it's like, dag, do I actually feel comfortable in this space? I know it's illusionary. I know it's like either a dream or a nightmare. It's like, it's either I can achieve this, or I may never achieve this, but at least I'm reaching for something. That's being in that beneficial space in that higher octave. you actually want to go ahead and reach for something that has never been achieved before in your personal life. You know what I'm saying? So it's either you feel comfortable with, expanding on that or escaping that and saying like, you know what, this dream is so far out to a point where I actually don't really see this in reality, and I can't actually see myself go ahead and reaching for this. You know what I'm saying? So essentially, you want to, if you don't have a dream at all, you want to be able to put yourself in a space where it's like, dag, like, how much the farthest I could go with this, and what's the dream that I could actually achieve? Okay, so like, this is a perfect time to ask questions, Benjamin Scott. As you said, are the astrological houses tied to the moon phases? Like it does it change daily? So this is how I like to break this down. Is based on your rising sign, you're going to see the moon transition through each aspect of your houses, and your houses are just your areas of life. So like, for example, I think you said earlier, what did you say earlier? You had talked about Taurus. So if you're that Taurus rising, you have the moon in your 8th house at this point in time. So essentially, you're in a space where that area of life is very transformative. So you're in a space where you're transforming oneself at this point in time if you're a Taurus rising. And for example, like if you had the Taurus moon in your first, like say we had a Taurus moon at this point in time, it would be in your first house. So you would be either feeling comfortable or feeling uncomfortable with your personal life. So like, yes, they are tied to the moon phases. So like, how I could break this down for you, you know what I'm saying, based on us having this Leo new moon cycle, it's like in a space where you're in a square energy to this new moon cycle. Because Taurus being a fixed sign and Leo being a fixed sign, you're in a space where you either you're supposed to learn, you know what I'm saying, at this point in time to actually benefit oneself and be more expressive. So essentially the Taurus has to learn to be more expressive at this point in time, you know what I'm saying, and actually see themselves on the stage and what stage they want to take part in. So yes, they are tied to the moon phases. And how does it change daily? It could be like, for example, the moon changes every 2.5 days. So based on those hours and minutes and seconds, you know what I'm saying, you participate in a certain energy or participate in a certain current, that's going to be the energy you're going to accumulate until we get to the actual full moon. So whenever we actually get to that full moon, you're going to be in a space that's like, okay, do I feel comfortable and satisfied with what I've actually accumulated, or do I feel uncomfortable with what I've accumulated, or unsatisfied? So if you're in a space that you're satisfied, okay, great. Now you know, okay, I want to continue on this energy. Or if you feel unsatisfied, like, dag, I'm missing some things, now you're going to know you have to keep an eye on the moon phases whenever you're having the moon waning moon cycle. So like, essentially the waning moon is what to shed, and the waxing moon is what to add on or to actually continue to accumulate. So like I say, we're in this new moon cycle right now, so you're accumulating new things. So essentially you want to accumulate what's beneficial to one's space to actually put yourself in a higher octave emotional state. And then based on the waning moon cycle, like I say, you're going to want to shed what makes you feel uncomfortable and actually is non-beneficial to oneself. I'm saying that whenever you have the new moon, now you've created space to actually accumulate new things. So like, that's how you break that down based on the moon phases in the houses. And what's another way to put it? Like, so Leo, oh yeah, like I say, we're in a waxing phase right now. So based on the new moon, that's when you wax and accumulate more. That waxing is accumulating, right? And then waning is shedding. So after we have the full moon in Aquarius, then after the full moon, we're in a shedding cycle. So like, as you see the moon building up, you know what I'm saying? We just had this half moon being a Scorpio, you know what I'm saying? Which is a square to the Leo. Like it makes perfect sense. You know what I'm saying? The half moon is the first quarter square, right? It all ties in. So whenever you then have the full moon, you know what I'm saying, that's technically like the half of the cycle, you know what I'm saying, because that's like the second quarter, you know what I'm saying? So then you have the third quarter square whenever it hits Taurus, right? So like you be in that Taurus sign, you're going to see like, okay, based on the secondary half moon, you know what I'm saying, aka the third quarter square, you know what I'm saying, you're going to see like, okay, what have I actually shedded and what do I need to create more space before I have this new moon being in Virgo? And essentially, whenever you hit the new moon in Virgo, it's going to be in a gift space, you know what I'm saying, to the Taurus. So like, keep that in mind. So yeah, that's essentially how how you break that down. You know what I'm saying? Waning is accumulating more. Waxing, pardon me, other way around, my fault. Waxing is accumulating more, and waning is shedding. It's a shedding phase. So yeah, just keep that in mind. And if anybody else got questions, go ahead and drop them below, or go ahead and hit me in the email if you know what I'm saying, if you're watching this on the aftermath of the live. And, you know what I'm saying, support the movement you need to be in tune with, you know what I'm saying? Cash app below and all that. You feel me? I'm grateful for all y'all tapping in. You know what I'm saying? Peace and love if you believe in all that. And, you know what I'm saying? Stay safe.